Hello again, Terror Travelers. I hope you enjoy your time this evening. The following story was posted on NoSleep by WintryNymph. It appears names have been changed and locations redacted for the safety of those involved. If you enjoy, please be sure to hammer that like button, nail subscribe, and intune your comments below. I woke up, cramped in a dark, confined space. I felt cramps surge throughout my entire body, feeling as if I'd been laying in the same position forever. I screamed and clawed at the ceiling, scratching and picking until my fingernails bled and broke off. I used my feet and hands to kick at the wood, all the while knowing there was no use. Who the hell put me here? How did I get here? I thought with rage and frustration. I decided to pound the wood one more time and used my legs to kick and push the hardest I could. I stomped, banging my sore and mangled feet against the wood until the final blow managed to completely break through the wood, and I was too pumped with adrenaline to acknowledge the pain running through my foot. I looked up through the wood and saw darkness. I knew I couldn't be outside. It was too musty and damp to be out in the fresh air. I managed to pull myself through the wood, climbing up on top of the auburn box. I clawed my way through the muddied walls, picking worms and bugs off me along the way. I used my fists to punch through the dirt as hard as possible until I felt my hand break through and reach the soft grass, a cold breeze whisking through my fingers. It was the strangest feeling. I groaned as I used my head to break through the dirt and pulled myself up onto the wet, dewy grass until I couldn't move any longer. I lay there, soaking on the earth, feeling the wind on my face. My white dress was almost brown with dirt, and a few bugs were still crawling up my legs. I rubbed my swollen wrists when I noticed a shiny golden bracelet. Engraved in the bracelet were the words, "I will always love you, Dustin." Dustin? Who the hell is he? I don't know anyone. I looked to my left and noticed that there was a small rock next to the dirt I tore through. I leaned in closer to read the writing when my heart dropped in my chest. Fiona Holiday, love of my life, lasted 3 months, October 9th, 2018. No, that couldn't be me. If I died, wouldn't I remember? Then something clicked. I wasn't in a cemetery at all. I was in someone's backyard. There were no neighboring houses. This one was completely isolated. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. Being dead sounded awful enough, but why was I in someone's backyard? Was I murdered? Did my parents know what happened to me? I tried to stand up, but I fell, my knees buckling beneath me. I crawled around, desperate to find something that would indicate where I was. I wondered if there were others. I reached out my hands, grabbing anything that wasn't grass, when I came across 5 other rocks, all a couple inches away from each other. Casey Jones, love of my life, lasted 7 months, February 2nd, 2017. Vanessa Walters, love of my life, lasted 3 weeks, July 7th, 2016. Delilah Woods, love of my life, lasted 2 days, August 15th, 2016. Hannah Gomez, love of my life, lasted 1 year, November 22nd, 2015. Jessica Hansen, love of my life, lasted 7 years, April 12th, 2012. I covered my mouth and scooted back. This had to be a nightmare, or some kind of prank. Surely there's not 5 other women buried here. The only way to find out is to dig. I cringed and carefully crept back towards one of the rocks. Casey Jones, I'm sorry for disturbing your sleep. I began to claw at the dirt until I reached a smooth, cold surface. It wasn't wood. There was no coffin. I grabbed at the object and pulled it up towards me, digging my bloodied nails into the soft, cold rubber, until I realized that I had grabbed a hand. I screamed and dropped the hand, peering down into the hole. A half-skeleton human lay there, in a floral blouse and shorts, a golden bracelet on her right wrist saying, "To the love of my life, Dustin." I felt sick, so I turned over to the patch of grass next to me and puked my brains out. I gently grabbed some little flowers growing in the grass and laid them on her chest. "I'm so sorry," I sobbed. I scooped the dirt back over her corpse and patted it until it was firm. I laid the rock above her. Now, my next move would be to run. The backyard was chained up, fenced off. There was no way I could leave. I couldn't climb very high. I decided to try prying open the backyard door. I know, stupid, but maybe I could convince Dustin he's dreaming. Much to my luck, the door was unlocked. I slowly slid it open and forced myself to stand up, and shakily tiptoed through the kitchen when something caught my eye. There were missing posters everywhere, all over the fridge. I crept towards the fridge and nearly fainted at the sight. All the girls, with their alive, smiling faces plastered on missing posters. I saw myself. "Have you seen me? Fiona Elizabeth Holiday. Date of birth, July 1st, 2003. Age, 15. Last seen wearing a white dress and red sandals on July 2nd, 2018 in Redacted, California. Description: green eyes, long blonde hair. Height and weight, 5'3" and approximately 110 pounds. I grabbed the poster and tore it to shreds. It suddenly dawned on me that I never found out how I died. I frantically looked around the room until I spotted a video camera propped up on the shelf. I managed to snag it off the shelf and open it up. My eyes were exposed to the most horrific and vile videos I've ever seen. He labeled each video: Casey's catastrophe, Delilah's demise, Vanessa's vendetta, Jessica's jealousy, Hannah's hysteria, and mine, Fiona's fatality. They were homemade snuff films. There I was, drugged up and tied to a chair. "What did I do?" I cried in the video. "I'm sorry, my love, but I can't trust you anymore. You've tried to run away multiple times, and you blew every last chance," he cooed. His voice sent shivers down my spine in a way I can't even explain. I don't even want to explain what he did to me. I was stabbed multiple times in the chest, and then he broke my neck. I puked a little in my mouth and quickly turned the camera off. I slowly lifted up my dress and ran my fingers along my stomach and chest. Large, bumpy scars lined across my torso. I shuddered. The sound of footsteps thumping down the stairs made me jump. I stood, frozen with fear. "Who is it?" a gruff man's voice called out. He ran into the kitchen, baseball bat in hand, turning around and laying his eyes on me. "Miss me, Dustin?" I whispered. Fiona, no, you're dead. Who the fuck are you?" he cried. "I thought I was the love of your life, Dustin. Why did you have to kill me?" I mocked. He just stared. "No, this isn't happening. I'm not having this conversation. I'm dreaming." I slowly walked towards him, clutching the bat tighter. He whimpered. "Shh," I cooed. I put my hand on his. "Let me just say one thing before you wake up," I said. He slowly nodded his head. I leaned in closer. "It's your turn." I yanked the metal bat from his trembling hands and began to smash it into his head, bashing his skull in, blood spraying everywhere. He withered to the ground, and I continued to smash until I physically couldn't any longer. I dropped the bat to the floor, grabbed the video camera and all the missing posters, and bolted out of the house. It was dark, and I had nowhere to go. I was on top of a hill. I turned back and glanced at the house one last time before running off and trying to locate the nearest police station. If I told them what really happened, they'd call me crazy and brush me off, or worse, send me to a science lab to experiment on me. I concocted an elaborate and gory but very believable and accurate story. All I had was my strength and my evidence, and maybe, I thought, I'll find my family again. I don't know how far I've been running. It felt like years, but I'm sure it's only been a few hours. And of course, it begins to rain. I shoved the video camera and the missing flyers into one of the bags I stole from the house. My drenched dress clung to my sickly thin frame, the rain washing the thick mud off my knees and elbows. Each step I took felt all the more painful. Was I wounded? I don't know. Well, yes, I suppose I have multiple stab wounds and a broken neck, but that was a year ago. Surely blood must be pumping into my heart, and my brain and organs are in full function. You would have never guessed that I was dead. minus the grave I just crawled out of. I swept my damp hair out of my eyes and tucked the strands behind my ears, trudging further and further. At this rate, I just needed to find shelter, even if it's someone else's house, though I'd have to think about some kind of lie for that one. What am I supposed to say? Hey, do you remember me on the news from a year ago? The missing teen? Yeah, that's me. Surprise. Can I sleep under your roof? Ha, right. I see my sarcasm is still with me through life and death. Blinding headlights flooded my vision in the distance. A car! A car! I nearly jumped for joy, before catching myself mid-stumble. I waved my hands erratically, praying to God the driver sees me. God, I probably look like a maniac. A muddy, bloody, wet girl can only look so pleasing. Death doesn't exactly make you look any prettier. Still, in luck, the car slowed down and came to a stop. The driver got out of the car, slowly approaching me. I held my breath tight. Hello, do you need some help? A friendly male voice called out. Yes, please, I shouted. The man rushed towards me and draped his coat over my shoulders. Come on now, in you go, he said softly, guiding me towards the car. I jumped in the passenger seat and curled up tightly, shivering from the cold. I know what you're all thinking. Again, Fiona? Look, I've already been murdered. I can't think of anything that he might do that would literally be worse than that. Hey, darling, can I have your name? He asked. The man appeared to be in his 40s, with droopy blue eyes and dark brown hair. Faye, I lied. How old are you? I don't know, probably 16? He let out a short laugh. Probably. Girl, where have you been this whole time? He joked. I simply smiled and nodded, gazing out the window as we drove down the road. Do your parents know where you are? He asked. No, I don't have any parents, I lied again. I see. Well, how did a 16-year-old girl manage to get herself in this situation? He prodded. Abusive boyfriend, I guess. I was staying with his family, so I ran away down the mountain. Goodness, child, you look like you haven't eaten anything, showered, or slept in days, he exclaimed. Oh, I've had plenty of sleep, I mumbled to myself. Where can I take you? A shelter? He asked. Actually, that would be nice, I said, exhaling a shaky breath. All right, nearest one is 5 miles away. I can turn the radio on if you like, he gestured politely. I nodded my head silently. He turned on the radio. Into the Night by Benny Mardones began to play. A traumatic memory began to flash through my mind. In order to drown out my screams during certain activities, Dustin would play this song. Before I can stop myself, I began hyperventilating and scratching at my face. Whoa, are you okay? The man asked, putting his hand on mine. Just turn it off, I whispered. Please. He did as I said and took a deep breath. I'm sorry, whatever you've been through, I just want you to know that I can relate on some level to what you're feeling. I perked my head up, giving him a look to continue. I don't really talk about this much. Hell, I don't even know if this would help you in the slightest, but I lost my daughter 2.5 years ago, he said sadly. I'm sorry, I whispered. Her name was Casey, he continued. Surely you've heard of the infamous Casey Jones case. She was 15, only a year older than you are. Well, she'd be 17.5 now. Thing is, I never got any closure. I lost her, in the sense that someone took her away from me. Disappeared. God only knows where my baby is now, he choked. My eyes widened, and it suddenly dawned on me that I was talking to her father, the Casey I dug up in Dustin's backyard. She's very beautiful. I wish I could help, I said, clutching the bag with her missing flyer in tighter. I cringed at the very thought that I possibly had her murder video on camera. You knew her? He asked. No, sorry. I saw her missing persons flyer on the news, I said. He nodded his head. You remind me of her a lot. I couldn't leave you on the road like that. There's a lot of evil in this world, girl, don't you know? Someone could snatch you up and you'd never see daylight again, he went on, gritted my teeth and nodded my head in agreement. Oh, I know. Well, we're here, he said, pulling up to the shelter. Thank you, Mr. Jones, I said hesitantly. Frank, he said. As I opened the door, he quickly grabbed hold of my arm. Wait, I want to give you this, he said, grabbing something from his pocket. He opened his hand, revealing a small white rock with the words, "Hope is the only thing stronger than fear." A wave of melancholy washed over me. "Every time that boyfriend of yours makes you feel worthless, I want you to remember that," he said seriously. I clutched the rock to my aching chest. "It means the world to me," I smiled. "Good luck, Faye. Never give up. You're a resilient girl who's been through a lot. I can see it in your eyes." I gave him a half-hearted smile and shut the car door, trudging up the steps to the shelter. I exhaled a calm, articulated breath and carried myself towards the doors. I entered the building, inhaling a plethora of smells. Food, dirt, way too much air freshener. "Name," a woman calls from the desk. "Faye Harrison," I lie calmly. "How old are you, dear?" the woman asked, eyeing me up and down. I just turned 18 years old." I definitely didn't look it. I was small and malnourished. Definitely haven't aged since my death. I'm 16, but feel freshly 15. She gave me one hard look before sighing. "All right, follow me," she said, waddling out from her desk and guiding me down the hallway. I won't bore you with the details, but basically she showed me my shared room, where the showers are, and provided me some hygiene products. It was already 5 a.m., so I had missed dinner, but she gave me some snacks. I didn't get any sleep. I stayed up just thinking about all the unbelievable events that unfolded. Yesterday, I was dead in a coffin, buried in a serial killer's backyard. Today, I'm eating Nutter Butters on a bed in a shelter. "So you're my new roomie?" a voice asked from the bed next to me. I didn't even notice the woman looking right at me. She had curly black hair and bronze skin. Must have been 18 or 19 at least. "Oh, yeah," I replied shyly. "Dolores," she said, extending a hand. Faye," I smiled tensely. "You look familiar. I can't quite put my finger on it." "Oh, maybe we've met before," I chuckled. "Nope. I feel like I've seen you on TV or the news or somewhere, like a year ago." "Well, I definitely haven't been on TV," I laughed nervously. She nodded acceptingly. "How long do you plan on staying? I mean, we can only stay here so long until we can get back on our feet," she said. "I actually plan on leaving tomorrow night," I replied. "Really? That soon? Where are you going to go?" she asked, tilting her head. "Home, wherever that is. I have parents who probably miss me," I smiled sadly. "Oh, lucky, I don't have any. I don't even know what my next move is," she said forlornly. "Mind if I ask why you're here?" she asked. "Believe me, it's a very strange story," I replied. "Girl, believe me, nothing shocks me anymore." I let out a small laugh. I'm not too sure about that, I thought to myself. "I'll just say that I had a crazy, wild domestic dispute with my boyfriend and his family," I lied. "How about you?" "Been in and out of foster homes since I was little. Most of my foster families were abusive. I've ran away more times than the amount of years I've been alive," she revealed. "I know it'll get the better of you. After surviving what I've been through, I now believe that anything can be conquered," I smiled. She grinned back. Before I knew it, it was breakfast. Fast forward to later that night at 2 a.m., when all the lights were shut off and everyone went to bed. I carefully snuck out from beneath my sheets and gently rested my feet on the cold floor. "Faye?" Dolores mumbled sleepily. I jumped back, shaken from her voice. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. Where are you going?" "I'm going to try and find out more about my family on the computer," I whispered. "This place is kind of weird, so just be careful," she muttered. "How do you mean?" I asked, perking my head up. "It's hard to explain. I mean, just don't get yourself caught by the staff." "All right," I replied, taken aback. At this rate, nothing is crazy to me anymore. Maybe she could be right. I exited my room and crept towards the main entrance, sneaking behind the desks to get to the computer. The bright lights illuminated my face, nearly blinding me. I clicked on the search engine, anxious for it to load. "Casey Jones missing," I typed. The first article read, "5th California teen to go missing over the course of 5 years." The rest were people trying to say that she was a runaway and not kidnapped. Little do they know. I tried as hard as possible to remember my parents' names. I couldn't. The only thing I could think of was to type in my own name, as painful as it would be. Fiona Holiday, missing, I carefully typed. My hand hovered over the mouse. I hesitantly clicked. Missing teens still not found. Parents in distress was the first link to pop up. I couldn't bring myself to click on it. The next link made my heart stop dead in its tracks. Missing teen's mother commits suicide 1 month after daughter's disappearance. I prayed for it to be a hoax. Felicity Holiday was found unresponsive by her husband in their home, in Redacted, on the morning of August 7th, 2018 at 7:15 a.m. Andrew Holiday was ruled out as a suspect as there was no indication of foul play. The toxicology report shows a high blood alcohol content level and sleeping pills. She reportedly left a note that expressed her utter incapability of living without her daughter. I couldn't read the rest. I shut down the computer. I sobbed in my bed that night. I guess it wasn't a lie after all that my parents were dead. Well, one of them. I didn't even bother looking for my father. He was very cold and distant. We weren't very close. He was only with my mother. I had come to the decision to go back to the house. There were some answers that I still didn't have there. Maybe I could find a way to bring back the other girls, after I figured out how I came back first. Dustin, where are you? What are you hiding? I called a taxi and handed the driver the dirty, crumpled money I had found on the floor. He didn't seem to mind, or care for that matter. He took a long drag of his cigarette and ushered me to hop in. Destination? He asked huskily. My words came to a halt. Where was I going? Suddenly a memory came flooding back. I'm in a dark trunk in the back of a car. We pull into the driveway. My hands and legs are tied with cable cords. A large, husky man, presumably Dustin, carries me out of the car. I'm fading in and out of consciousness. Welcome home, he beams. I get a glimpse of the address before I close my eyes. After I come to, I find the driver staring at me impatiently. Please take me to Redacted on Redacted Mountain. He grunts in response and we speed away. A wave of eerie nostalgia washes over me as we pull up towards the house. I pray that I have the strength to walk through those doors again and face a dead body. I slowly entered the house expecting a nauseous wave of putrid stench to fill my nose because of Dustin's rotting corpse. But he wasn't there. Someone was here and cleaned up after me. I got chills down my spine and carefully and cautiously walked towards the sliding backyard door. I proceeded to walk outside, and the sight before me rocked me to my very core. There was another empty grave. Another one rose from the dead. I held my breath as my eyes were glued to the disturbed dirt, when suddenly I hear footsteps prowl towards me from behind. I slowly turn around, prepared for another anomaly that breaches the natural order of things. There she was, Casey Jones, same metal baseball bat in hand, slathered in dirt and death, fear dilated in her eyes.